Hi, I'm Bart Hanson, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
Hey Bart,
423 in Tennessee. What's going on?
not much. Name's Grant. Live in South Carolina.
Hi, Grant.
Played at a casino in Charleston, West Virginia. It's a 1-2 game. Cap is 500 buy-in.
So it's a 1-2 game,
Yep,
$500 buy-in. Okay.
yep. So I have a positive, solid image at this point. I have about 575, and the two villains in the hand, both you would think might be old man coffees, but after watching for a while, they're both loose and sticky post flop. And I watched one of them bluff $100 into a $125 pot, with a missed flush draw, and the other one, the guys at mine at the table said he does the same kind of thing. So it seems like they're a little looser and will bluff more than typical old man coffee. So I had Jack of Hearts, Jack of Clubs in UTG +1.
Okay.
Effective stacks for the second villain is 475. That's who turns out being the main villain in the hand. So I raised to 15 and get two callers. Everybody else folds.
Okay. Call in position. You're out of position. Two guys call on the field.
Yep.
Okay.
Flop comes 10 of clubs, 9 of hearts, 4 diamonds.
Okay.
I bet 30.
Mm-hmm.
One fold, one call. So the second villain calls.
Is he like on the button or cut off or something like that?
Yep, cut off.
Okay.
So this is my question is going to be around the turn and river play. I think this is where I screwed up. So the turn is the 8 of hearts.
So the pot's about 10, we'll call it 100 probably after the rake. And what was the
Okay.
turn again?
8 of hearts.
8 of hearts. Okay.
So as I'm looking at chips, I'm actually watching the villain, and he's doing that kind of tell where it looks like he's kind of trying to grab chips, which is trying to say I'm calling, or maybe raise just to. I don't know if he was trying to say to try and limit my betting or what, but he was doing something that looked like intentionally. So I bet 65, and he, thought grabbed a few more chips, and then he just calls.
I want to stop you here for a second. So, and I think a lot of people might, on the surface, they get a little bit confused about what cards help their opponents and what they should check or, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got pocket jack, so you turn an open-ended straight draw, right? 10, 9, 4, 8. So
Right.
do you think that the turn now, do you think that it helps your opponent? Meaning that do you think that you're beat now on the turn a fair amount of the time, or you can be beat?
I think I can be. I was running through. I have the two jacks, so it reduces the number of queen jack combinations that are
Yep.
out there.
Hmm.
Two pair, of course. 10 9 9 8. I think 10 9. He's probably going to let me know about it by raising. So 9 8 8 7. Also I think about that, and of course I'm losing to 6 7 at that point. So I think I don't know if it's split 50-50, but yeah, the fair amount I'm losing to, and the fair amount pick up a ton of equity.
Actually, I
And
was
then
gonna say.
also,
I mean, my response to that was that I don't think the eight really does. The eight's a good card for you in the sense that it adds equity to your opponent's calling range. It also adds equity to your hand, but like you pointed out, Queen Jack, you block Queen Jack, right? So what are the
right,
types of hands that he's calling with on the flop on 10 9 4? Well, he can have any 10, Ace 10, King 10, Queen 10, Jack 10. Queen 10 and Jack 10 pick up equity. They're going to continue to call. Like you said, you're probably going to hear from 10 9 on the flop or now on the turn. 7 8 is the bottom end of a straight draw that now pairs, right?
hmm
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he could have 10 8 or 9 8, but we can't really be scared. I mean, it's less likely now that the 8 comes combos wise. Um, Again, one thing to point out that the 10 and the 8 are different suits. So, if he only has 10 8 suited, like there's only two combos of that. 6 7's a pretty far stretch, calling with the bottom end of a gut shot. So, I just don't see how this card really I don't see how you continue to not have the best hand here. So I think a lot of guys look at this as a defensive check. They're like, oh, I'm open ended. I don't want to get blown off my draw with pocket jacks, when in fact it's a really good card for you. And you bet. So you bet 65 and villain calls.
yep. And Rivers Ace of clubs.
Of course, I'm just laughing because Pete, stay in school in the in the live chat says he thinks the turn is a check. All right,
That's awesome. Yeah.
so
And so this is where
so
this is
Pete, it's
where
not 25-50. So you bet 65 and the villain calls and the pot now is 230. And what was the
yeah.
river?
The river's ace of clubs.
Okay.
So this is where I kind of got, I'm fairly new to the site, and I've appreciated what I'm learning in terms of bet folding versus check folding, check calling, bluff catching range, things like that. So I kind of got stuck. I ended up betting 100 and he raised to 245. I think this is. So after hearing you, I think the turn makes sense to bet. The river, I think I made another mistake or a mistake if I didn't make a mistake on the turn. But want to get your thoughts on the river play.
Yeah, I think the river is a mistake. I think I would be checking here, and we're protected by the fact that our opponent doesn't at these levels. They won't turn hands into bluffs. So more often than not, this becomes a check fold on a rainbow board. You could easily find a check call on a front door flush board when people don't bet thinly at the end
Mm-hmm.
with the ace x of that suit. And the reason why I think is it becomes a check fold is because when you look, I mean, ace 10 is in this guy's range, and a lot of these guys at this level will play any ace 10 off. He might continue to hold on with ace 9. So there are certain times when an ace is not good for us here because it makes them have aces up. When you bet the river and the guy raises you, there's just no hand that he can have that's a bluff here. And it's for the same reason that I feel like check folding is a fine play because he's not going to turn 7-8 into a bluff here either. Do you see what I'm saying? Like people just are just going to check that down at the end. So I
Mm-hmm.
would probably be checking most likely to check fold a lot at the end.
Makes sense. Yeah, and in fact, I picked off a same player, picked off a bluff on busted flush later for simply, it was easier to pick it off versus the backdoor flush missing. I didn't think that's what he was playing, so I folded, but I should have just check fold instead of bet folding, I think.
Yeah, I think that you should probably just hope it goes check check. Um,
Okay.
I mean, you could make a super thin bet against a guy that you feel like is just so sticky that he's never if you're up against a guy that's going to call you down with king 10, queen 10, jack 10 for three streets even when the ace comes, then you could even make a case for betting here on the river for thin value. But that's sort of optimistic, I feel like. Plus you block jack 10. I just think that this guy has to have a hand here when he raises you at the end. Because what is he? What he would
Yeah,
have to turn a hand. He would have to have a hand that's a bluff. What bluff does he have?
yeah, that's what 8-7, maybe Jack 10. I mean, I have a Jack, so I think that's why I made a couple calls later in the session that turned out to be correct on his bluffs. I just felt this one I couldn't find enough bluffs that I thought made sense, so I folded.
Yeah, I think that's a fine fold. Okay.
All right, well, thanks
All
for
right.
the
Cool.
input.
You got it. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA100. Click on the link right there.